At this time, we need approval of the agenda and previous minutes. Mike, have you had a chance to look at those?
I am right now.
Okay.
Are you needing a motion from me?
Yes, sir. It's just us.
It's just us. Just us chickens.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, I move approval of the minutes.
Okay, I second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. All right. Report of the chair. Why don't we just go right from there?
We want to tell them about Dr. Bunia.
Okay. Dr. Bunia has asked to be replaced on the board. His time will not really allow him to serve, and he's talked to Tracy, so we're going to have to find a hospital.
Yeah, he's in the hospital representative slot, so we're either going to have to find somebody who is with a hospital that doesn't contract with us, like the VA. That's what's been nice about Cherokee. Or if it's one of our contracted hospitals, then it becomes a non-voting slot under the statute. So it has sometimes been a challenge to find a hospital representative who's got the time to serve on the board. So that'll be our.
So is there anybody but the VA?
The VA is really the only hospital that's not contracted with us that would allow them to continue to be a voting member. But, you know, while that's an option, it's always an option for us to get one of our contracted hospitals to give us to have a voice on the board, even if it's a non-voting voice. Yeah.
I vote is important, but the expertise is perhaps more important.
Yeah. And Gary Blevins and Connie have just joined us. So that means you won't have to make all the motions anymore.
That's right.
The pressure's off.
No pressure, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Just keep,
It's on you now.
just keep doing it. Whatever you were doing, just keep doing it.
Don't stop
That's
now.
not me.
All right.
We've both been in Raleigh.
We have.
Step back, I'm gonna grab
We
a
have.
Cmte. Just-
Oh, yeah,
That's
please.
over in
Yeah,
that.
Yourself, there's sandwiches.
I'll be right back.
Get yourself
Okay.
some.
Sorry we're late, but
You're good.
I just drove straight in.
So before you do your report, don't wait for him.
Yeah. We got some really good news, Connie.
Good.
Glad you got here.
I could
Because
use
it
it.
involves you.
All right. Tell me about it.
Oh, I can't yet.
Okay.
I need to make sure everyone's here.
All right. I'll wait for good
You
news.
like that? Isn't that a great
That's a good
preparation for?
There is freshly brewed coffee on the board. So.
It's an interesting letter from Dave Richards.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So how's everybody been? Well? Doing
Say
well?
good.
Good. Okay, good.
Busy.
You don't say. As my grandmother used to say, you don't say.
Is that what she
I
would
tell
say?
you. Yeah, she would. You can tell her something. She was very well aware of it. She'd say, you don't say.
That's her way of making you feel like she answered, but you weren't really sure what she was saying, right?
Kept me on my toes, right?
Uh-huh.
My favorite grandchild story is my Office of Communications Director. Her son, Henry, he is a trip. And his grandmother picked him up from school one day, and she said, "Henry, how was school today?" And he looked at her and he said, "Nana, it's none of your concern."
None of your concern.
Yeah, very politely.
How old is he?
Henry is now in the 3rd grade,
Third grade.
but it was
Okay.
just too cute.
Okay.
Man, that's none of your concern. Don't worry.
Did you see the well care sent
Yeah.
I did.
Gosh, should we get it on my
email?
list
Very
here?
interesting.
Yeah, a little later. I think
Thank
yours,
you.
maybe later.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that reopen the welfare board?
The 2 biggest things I saw, well, we can talk about it later, but there's some stuff going on.
Okay. Our next item is report of the CEO, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me do kind of housekeeping here. We talked about this earlier. As far as the agenda for later, we'll have to kind of juggle things because Michael Lavender won't be able to get here till later. And we're going to do an award for him, of course.
That's nice.
Somehow, he has been at this for 30 years, which seems
Wow.
staggering. I guess there's a whole bunch of words you could use. So I don't know, in terms of the agenda, so you can talk about that maybe.
Okay.
He's got a dentist appointment, and then I said, I don't care if you can't talk, you're walking with a limp, whatever, just make sure you get here. So we'll have to juggle that a little
If
bit.
you get a tooth pulled and you're walking with a limp, something might have gone wrong.
Well, he said it was,
Terribly wrong.
he said it was a surgical,
Parts are
not working. A surgical procedure.
Oh, yeah, no.
So
Poor
anyways,
guy.
I feel bad about that, but,
Yeah.
so we gotta remember to do that today.
Nice.
And also, I know Paige is coming later, right? And here's the really good news, Connie. Hold your breath. No, don't hold your breath.
Okay.
Do whatever you want. So Paige doesn't feel as if she's going to be able to do both be a cab
Right.
representative and and honestly, I'm not sure. I think she and Ronnie drew straws. One was going to be the chair, the other was going to be the co-chair. You see where this is going? So, obviously keeping her as a board member would be the priority. So she is going to find, and I need to kind of close the loop with her on all of this. She left me a voicemail. I was in Nashville since Sunday for a National Council Conference, which was excellent, by the way.
Is Ronnie around to defend himself?
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
I did talk to him though, so this is as per Commissioner Beal. So, really, since you're the only other commissioner left on the board that could do this, Ronnie thought it would be a great idea. I'm only changing this story slightly now.
Yeah.
If you and he would be a tag team to do the County Commissioner Advisory Board. So, there you go. We'll provide a lot of support on this.
Promise.
We've all
Right.
been there.
And in turn, so, I think that's the direction we're headed in for that. Okay?
And I'm partly responsible for throwing you into that situation.
Aren't you,
because-
Lee?
Yeah.
The best
Well, I don't know,
friends.
you got a lot of.
I did the best I could, didn't I, Brian?
You were excellent.
Yes, very, very.
So, that's some housekeeping. I'll talk to Paige, when she gets here later today. How's it looking for quorum for the board meeting? Christina Rose, are we in good shape?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, Ronnie is not gonna be here. He says he's got an all-day bank meeting. So,
boy.
anyway,
How exciting.
okay, at least we solved that problem. Phew. What are we gonna talk about? There's been so many pieces of legislation this week, I can't even I haven't even caught up with all of them. This was just the week for a lot of stuff to get blasted out. And, yeah, I mean, literally, I'm not even ready to talk about the stuff that's out there.
Brian, may I interrupt you just a minute?
Sure,
Is Christina still in the room?
she is.
Christina, is there a executive committee packet in the current documents tab, or should be, or am I just not looking the right place?
Are you looking at the email or the board portal?
Board portal.
It
Do I need to
should
go to
be
the
there.
email?
No, it should be in the board portal under March.
I see finance full board and our CQC.
Okay, I'll add it now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, we're gonna do the whole portal and iPad thing is on the agenda for the board meeting too. So Robert and folks will come in for that. So legislation, again, this is, we're getting to the beginning of the session, so everything is just like every day. I'm getting copies of that stuff, and again, just not ready to talk too much about any of that, but we'll always give you information about that as it develops. And of course, it's so early on that these things change so enormously as they bounce around between the House and Senate and all of that. Obviously, the departments' big priorities are getting the standard plans stood up in the phase of 1 and 2 as it's being described, phase 1 in November. And we have 4 counties that are part of the health regions that will be going in phase 1. And then phase 2 is February of next year, which will be the rest of our counties and the rest of the state. Again, that's just how they've packaged the rollout of this. We have, again, just to review, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And it's not the name they're going by in North Carolina. I guess I should get better at this because they all create North Carolina, different state names for their products there, but Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think it's under Anthem.
It's called
Healthy
Anthem
Blue.
Healthy Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think they want, every state to feel special, right? And they should. And we have WellCare, which is WellCare, at least for a little while, because Centene was just announced, I believe, yesterday morning, that they were acquired by Centene.
Oh, wow.
WellCare?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could find an article, of one of several that's been floating around about that. I have no idea how that will change anything for North Carolina. And then we have United Healthcare, and we have AmeriHealth Caritas. Centene, and Centene is the PLE. Again, think of those other 4 as the commercial plans that bid and won the entire state. Centene, and again, it's not Centene, it's North Carolina something, that they package themselves with the medical society as a PLE, provider-led entity, which was another formulation that was established so that I think of them as hybrid insurance companies.
Is that the one that's only working in the one area?
2 regions.
2 regions.
Carolina Complete Care, yeah, that's Centene. But those are not in any, those regions do not contain any of our counties.
Right.
So, standing up all of that in November and February is a tall order, and expanding the coverage gap, or eliminating the coverage gap, which is Medicaid expansion. All about that. And just yesterday, and again, Ken talked about this a little bit, the Senate did put out their big piece of legislation that was, I guess, their answer to Medicaid expansion, which was increasing the number of slots in the C waiver. There's a large number of people that are on, you've probably all heard of the waiting list. They're individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. In our region, we have, is it about 1,200?
You mean on the list?
Yeah.
Yeah, close to it, yeah. And we have a report about that, and then we're serving between 1,650 to about 1,700 people.
So, on the waiting list, how many?
1,200
1200,
ballpark.
give or take.
And we're
On the
serving.
hours, on
Yeah,
hours,
just hours.
Just
not
hours.
statewide.
Yeah.
Yeah, statewide, it's probably, the DD council keeps saying it's over 11,000.
Yes.
I knew it was significant, but I didn't know we had like 1,200.
The average wait time has now gone up to almost 11 years. In some cases,
Not
12.
It was 10 the last.
It was 10 the last time, but it's now closer
Okay.
to 11.
What is the number of,
So,
estimated number of people would have been brought into the system if actual Medicaid expansion took place, as opposed to 1,200? Thousands?
600,000?
Yeah, so should we get 1,200 instead of, that's statewide. Is that statewide or, yeah?
That'd be statewide.
Yeah,
So,
that's-
I should find, there's a really good article about or I guess it was probably, essentially the press release from the Senate about this bill and how they viewed that as the proper way to expand Medicaid benefits, which is really just twisting things all up because they're,
It's pitting one group
Yeah.
against another group instead of looking at what's best overall.
I mean, there are individuals who are Medicaid eligible, by and large. It's just a spin, and that is not to say that that isn't a worthy investment, but it
Right.
is, should not be confused in any way, shape, or manner with what anybody thinks of Medicaid expansion, but that's how they're spinning it. I'll find the article.
I was
Here, we
with
should-
Berger and Moore both yesterday, almost one-on-one. I didn't hear anything about expanding anything. I mean, but
The House is.
we met with all the leadership over, with for the COGS and actually yesterday, Kevin Leonard from the County Commissioners Association gave a presentation for us. And I asked him about what the position of the commissioner were on Medicaid expansion, and they're still using the language that I got put into the goals 5 years ago. They haven't changed it, and they still haven't come out and supported any kind of expansion. It was just kind of a,
That's great.
it's a compromise
Yeah.
wording. Didn't he say he said they were still using the same wording that we put in at 2 conferences ago, so they're afraid to get a hold of it too.
Well, we
Here it
need to
is.
catch up about August.
Let me send this to Christina Roy. This is
Yeah.
really a good description of the bill, and you can, I think, see, I would say, through the explanation. Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask a question about the slots that you were referring to? The handicap or special ed slots. Is the same amount of money set aside for the slots as, the last I knew was like 85,000?
Yep.
And some of the people who have these slots only need like, say, 45,000 a year. So does the 85,000 still have to be set aside without any other entrance or any other of the slots being filled just because they might need the $85,000 sometime in the future? And how is that
Good
determined,
question.
and can it be changed or adjusted in any way?
it is really infrequent that the number of slots gets increased, okay?
Yeah.
What we're dealing with is a static number that is part of our capitation. I don't know how well you understand how all of that works. I mean, there'd be no reason for you to. So there's a part of that that's buried in the calculation of our rate and, you know, what Clark would describe as the rate cells based on eligibility.
Right.
So the calculation of how much money we get, essentially per person for those slots, is buried in that, okay? But when they're adding new like this, they would have to add the full, what is it, 120,000? They would have to add the full $120,000 per person, I would assume. Now, I have not done the math, I have not looked at this in detail to check that, but I would assume, and she's going to make copies of this for you, that is how they should approach it. Now, the other issue is how they are allocated statewide, which again, I don't know how that would be done, if they're just going to take all the people that are on the wait list and figure out where they are and allocate the money that way. I don't know. I'm just thinking of practical ways that they might go about doing it. But again, this has been on the street for like 48 hours. So it's just at the point of everybody getting excited and talking about it in the articles, and you'll see how this is being described.
So, let's say in the past, up until now, if you had a slot that was no longer, there was not a person in the slot, how were those funds recalculated? How were they?
Somebody else goes in the slot in a heartbeat.
Okay, thank you.
They never go, there's such a backlog.
Yeah.
Again, there's 1,200 people that are on the wait list.
It's filled immediately.
Yeah, now that does not mean, this is another very important thing, and one thing that I guess we would, pride ourselves on, that we do the best that we can. Even though individuals do not get a slot in that waiver, which is, like the platinum, right? It's the biggest menu of services that people could want. We still serve a lot of those individuals with services. So it isn't as if they're going without, okay? They're not getting the full benefit of all they could have, but we do a lot, especially with state-funded services. And that is one of the things, actually, when we did our comparison with partners around that over the Rutherford County stuff, we were like, I'll just say the factor of individuals receiving care in that situation compared to partners in that case was like double. But, does that answer all your questions?
As many as I know to ask.
Yeah. So here's a pretty good summary of that healthcare bill. Okay, let's see what else. Well, that's probably it for.
Okay. All right. At this time, we need to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A1 in order to prevent the disclosure of competitive healthcare information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 122C, 2.26.1, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes, and to consult with attorneys pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
So moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay.